Welcome back to my channel. Tonight we're going to talk about Real Housewives Season 5, Episode 14. So just a little disclaimer, it is election night, so I'm feeling really anxious. And I'm actually doing this video to kind of take my mind off of all of the nonsense that's going on. I started watching a little bit of it and it was giving me too much anxiety. I was getting palpitations. So I said, you know what, let me go do something fun. And so that's why I'm here. All right, so this episode wasn't a lot going on. And I'm only gonna cover like 3 different segments because the rest of them just kind of were like, they felt like fillers. Let's start with Gizelle and Robyn. So we start off and they're in this cute little tea room, which looked adorable. I love that, you know, they had the little tea and the pastries and everything. Gizelle and Robyn are there and they are meeting Karen. So this is all part of Gizelle's scheme to interrogate Karen or to be messy with Karen. Last week, Wendy had told Gizelle about the conversation that they all had in Monique's basement when they all went to her lake house. When Karen, who had too much to drink, revealed to the rest of the girls that she had helped Ray out with the tax issues and that she wanted her money back. You know, obviously she was drunk, she was telling too much information. Wendy goes back and tells Gizelle, worst move ever. And of course, now Gizelle has ammunition because she's been gunning for Karen since I don't know when. She's been gunning for Karen since day one. So they invite Karen to this tea room. And again, like I've said before, Robyn by herself, cool as hell. When she gets with Gizelle, they turn into teenage girls. They turn into the mean girls, and I hate it. But Karen is always a step ahead of Gizelle. She knows how Gizelle moves and she will not let her get flustered, which is what I love about her.
So I'm sitting on Red Daddy. I am Red Daddy. Bring it.
Gizelle goes on to tell Karen what Wendy said. Karen, of course, handles it well. She does not get flustered. She's like, you know, well, what is that about? She's like, oh, okay, it was that night at Monique's house. Okay, that makes sense. I understand. And she's like, well, that's not really quite what I said, but, you know, all right, if that's what she wants to do, let her do it. So then Karen tells them the story about the week before when they were at Wendy's event and how Karen was downstairs trying to talk to Candace about the whole event with Monique, and Wendy came downstairs and interrupted their conversation. So Karen goes on to say that Wendy came slithering down the steps and interrupted them, and then she told Wendy that, you know, what Wendy said sounded ignorant. But let me back up a little bit. The thing with Gizelle is that she acts like she's concerned. I mean, I would just respect her more. She's like, you know, I don't like Karen. I got a little bit of juicy gossip here, and I'm gonna use this against her. You know, I mean, essentially that's what's happening, and essentially that's what happens in a lot of these shows. I mean, we all know that's part of the formula. But for her to pretend as if she's so concerned about what's going on with Karen and Ray, and she wants to be there for her, and she, you know, all of that is just so, it's just so irritating to watch. But like I said, Karen is on to her, and she will not let Gizelle see her sweat, which is amazing. Karen brings up Robyn's tax issue, and I like the way that Karen did it. She was respectful and she was honest. She's like, hey, listen, this is what I'm hearing. It's an elephant in the room. I can't pretend like it didn't happen, and I'm gonna bring it up. Robyn says, you know, oh, I wasn't paying enough taxes, blah, blah, blah. I can't really talk about it. And they show a clip back from a couple of seasons ago when Karen and Ray were having tax issues, and Karen kind of said the same thing. So it was a little bit of karma, I guess, when you say, where it's like, listen, y'all were making fun of me for the same thing, but I'm a big enough woman to not do the same thing that you did, and to let you know that I support you, and you know, if you need anything, I'm here, and I'm not going to laugh and kiki about this because I know it's not a funny moment. So again, Karen being the adult in the room and also modeling to them, this is how you're supposed to behave when somebody's going through something. Ashley is going to therapy. She's going by herself this time because before she had went with Michael to talk about his infidelity. And she's basically saying that she has postpartum depression. She's not really happy anymore. She's crying a lot. Their sex life is drying up because she doesn't feel sexual. She said that she feels like her body is a utility for Dean, and that when Michael tries to touch her, in her head, she's thinking that her body parts now belong to Dean, so she doesn't feel sexy and it's not fair to him. The counselor then, reinforces everything she says and says, these are common symptoms for postpartum depression. I understand. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that I do not believe Ashley. And I'm not saying that I don't believe postpartum depression is a real thing. I strongly believe that. I don't believe Ashley has it. Like I said before, I think Ashley and Michael's marriage was a mutually beneficial arrangement up until a certain point in time. She got her baby. She's now pregnant with another baby. She's securing her bag. And I don't think she really wants to be in this marriage anymore. And it makes sense. I mean, he's not really treating her well. There is a huge age gap. And, the allure of all of this, or the allure of him, the older man, and how he took care of her and all this stuff might be wearing off now that she's making a little bit of her own money and she's coming into herself and she's somebody's mother. I think that this postpartum is a way to garner some sympathy and to make her seem like her not being able to perform with Michael is because of the baby. It is not because she's just not into him or she just don't want him touching her no more. And I mean, anybody who's been to therapy before, I have, there are different kinds of therapists. And there are the kinds of therapists who will affirm whatever it is that you want to hear. And that's the kind of therapist this appeared to be to me. She was just checking off all the boxes for Ashley to qualify her as having postpartum depression. And it doesn't take a lot to know what those symptoms are, or even to do a quick Google search so that when somebody asks you, you can say, yep, that too. I mean, Ashley just didn't seem genuine to me. Even the look on her face looked very sly, like I'm gonna say what I have to say in order to, to kind of pass this test or whatever. So the therapist says, what you should do is, do things that you used to do, that you used to enjoy. Maybe you should go on vacation. How convenient, because of course the next week they're all going to be going on a vacation. And we know all of these franchises, they go on an annual group trip. It's just like part of their contract. And they always frame it as if one person is inviting everybody else on a vacation. And this time I guess it's Ashley's turn to pretend like she's the one hosting the vacation. But her therapist is the one who recommended it because she has, she's depressed and she's going through all this stuff. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't buy it, but whatever. We see a short clip of Monique, and she's in typical Monique fashion. She's in her kitchen with all her kids doing the whole harried mom thing. She's got one kid she's holding, the other one she's doing their hair, she's getting lunch, all this other stuff. They do a little clip where Chris is in the bathroom, so it's almost like that, oh, I'm here single mothering it. I'm here by myself doing all this work. I'm over Monique. I was kind of over her before the fight. I was over her when she started with that damn bird. But I just feel like she has this script where it's like, I work so hard. I'm this mother. I got all these kids. Woe is me. And I'm not saying that it's not hard, and not saying that having 3 kids is not a challenge. But you are not the average mother of 3 children. You don't work a full-time job. You have means. You can have help in the house. I don't know if you do or you don't. It's probably convenient that you don't show them on camera if you do have them. And Chris has said so much as, go hire who you need to get this done. We've already seen she's not a good businesswoman. Her business had 20 people at the damn podcast event. So it's like, Monique, what else are you doing that you're so stressed and so tired? And so, it just seems very put on to me. And I feel like it's slightly disrespectful to the mothers who really are out there grinding, who are working full-time jobs and coming home and taking care of their kids, whether they're single mothers or they have somebody in the house and they're commuting and picking kids up from daycare and babysitters and working when they get home. Monique, that's not who you are. So to sit here and put all this on, and it just seems really convenient that lately we are seeing you in this space where you always seem like you're harried and you're stressed and it's so hard for you. It just seems all by design. It seems very strategic. And like Ashley, I ain't buying that either. have a scene with Wendy and her kids. It was cute. What else? Let's just move on to the juicy part. So Robyn has this really cute hat line. I think it's called Embellished. Really, really cute hats. I definitely think I want to go online and buy one. That little cheetah print or that leopard print hat is adorable. She's got this cute little hat line, and she invites the girls to do a photo shoot because she says all the pictures of her on the website are, all the pictures on her website are of her in hats. And so she wants to bring some other people in. Great. So they all meet at like a photo studio. Before Karen shows up, Wendy shows up. And Giselle uses this opportunity to tell Wendy what Giselle said when they were at the tea room. So again, here we are with this, you know, high school back and forth game that Giselle does all the time. You know, you went and you told, you said, because they showed it on camera, you told Wendy you weren't going to tell Karen. And then you went and you told Karen. And you're going back to Wendy to say what Karen said about her. I mean, it's just, come on, Giselle. You know, of course, Wendy feels a way about it. You know, she already feels a way about Karen because she feels like Karen has been shading her since the beginning of the show and before the show, which may be true. So she's triggered by this. Ashley comes in. Well, they do the photo shoot. Ashley shares that she's going to all take them on this trip that her therapist recommended, and she pulls out the flag. None of whom know what country the flag is. I mean, I'll be honest, Portugal is not one of those countries that you might, you know, easily recognize the flag. But somebody said, is that China? And I'm like, really? You thought that was the China flag? But anyway, Wendy, smartest person in the room, gets it right. She's like, we're going to Portugal. They all excited, happy, and dancing. Wendy uses this opportunity to confront Karen. She said, you know, before we go on this trip, there's something that I want to talk about. And she said, Karen, you know, I heard that, well, actually, I didn't hear. Giselle told me what you said about me, and we got to clear this air before we leave the country together. Karen's prepared because Karen knows that Giselle is messy and that she was going to bring it back. And, you know, of course she is. So they get into a back and forth where Wendy brings up the fact that Karen called her ignorant. You sound like you're ignorant. Because Wendy really took offense because, you know, Wendy has 4 degrees and she leads with her intelligence, right? The whole thing is her being this PhD, this professor at Johns Hopkins and everything. So she goes off, you know, I'm not ignorant. I have 4 degrees. You don't have near 1, blah, blah, blah. And she's like, you know, she said something to the effect of like, I don't brag or I'm not one to brag. And then Bravo, with their shady production, they show clips of Wendy in several scenes saying, I have 4 degrees. I have 4 degrees. I have 4 degrees. So, you know, Wendy, I'm not saying that you're not bragging. I mean, you should be proud. You should definitely be proud of yourself. And editing is something else. You know, we know how this stuff works, but you did say it several times on camera. So they go back and forth. Karen says, you know, I don't have a degree, but I'm a successful person and blah, blah, blah. And my husband has a degree and all this other stuff. And Wendy says, you know, you're not uplifting Black women the way you say you do. And they're just kind of hurling insults at each other back and forth over the table. What I appreciate is Karen in her confessional said, I know that this was Giselle. I know that Giselle orchestrated this. And, you know, the clip of Giselle's face with this shock, like, oh, what's happening? They're arguing. Oh my God. It's insulting. You know, you stir the pot every time and then you pretend like you don't even understand how this stuff happened. I mean, I'm just so over her. I'm glad that Karen sees her for who she is. And I think Wendy's starting to see her for who she is as well. So, you know, she ain't fooling nobody. The argument where, and this is where it really got funny. And I really enjoy Karen. She definitely, like I said, she does not allow herself to get her feathers ruffled. She remains cool and calm all the time. And she owns her shit. And she's like, yeah, you know, I told them that you came slithering downstairs and getting into our conversation. And then she starts to mimic her, and they did a split screen, and it was hilarious because Wendy did kind of look like that. And, you know, and Karen just kind of lightened up the mood, but she owned her stuff. She, you know, she told Wendy straight up, this is what I said, and this is what you did, and that's how I perceived it. And, you know, then they play on it a little bit, and they all kind of slither out of the room. That was pretty much it. Like I said, a lot there was not a lot going on, but it was entertaining. Next week, they're going to go to Portugal. Oh, and just another fact is Monique was not invited because I don't know if legally, like I said last week, her and Candace cannot be in the same place together because there's a lawsuit pending or whatever. But Ashley says she made the decision not to invite Monique because she knows that, you know, Monique is not in a good place with all these girls, and it just would make life easier if Monique didn't come. So it will just be the rest of them, and we'll see what happens next week. You know, every time they go on a trip, there's always lots of drama. You know, somebody's always crying, threatening to go home early. So we'll see what happens. But that was pretty much it. Good luck to us all. Like I said, it is election night. By the time you watch this, we will probably know the results. And, you know, just praying that things work out for us. And I'm not going to say which side of the fence I'm on, even though I'm sure people could probably presume. But I am praying that things do not get hectic and out of control, because this is a really divisive election and it's extremely polarizing. So by the time you guys watch this, we will know, or we should be close to knowing, who the next president is going to be. So stay safe, and I'll talk to you guys next week.